edition of the Rock Pile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bills season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. Riding shotgun with us tonight, my buddy Doug Roloski, who is a diehard Lions fan. I'm almost happy we had the day we had before this, where we got to talk about what the Bills-Lions game is going to be. Because I'm not going to lie to you, this game this week against the Rams produced a lot of vitriol. It produced some of the worst from our fan base, including myself. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm innocent. It drew out some of the worst in all of us. And yet we're just weeks removed from the fact that we were anointed division winners.
Which it always blows my mind why we think that way as Bills fan. I mean, it was the worst defensive game since 2018. Thank you so much.
White Russian.
Look at you.
Look at that.
White Russians. Look at cheers.
Cheers, sir.
White Russians.
Hey, he's hooking you up.
It's my man. That's good.
So, as you were saying, worst defensive game since when?
2018. So they are allowed to fall apart on defense once every 6 years. It is okay. And it didn't happen versus a scrub at quarterback. It happened versus a future Hall of Famer and a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Let's get into it and let's talk about the road forward, guys. With our Week 14 recap, the Rams 44, the Bills 42. I got your stats of the game right here. Matt Stafford.
You can start with this stat. They didn't. I gotta undo this.
Put them chains on, boy.
They didn't earn their money. That's for damn sure.
As he puts the money chain
Yeah,
on.
God, struggling.
So yeah, of course you are, because you don't deserve to wear jewelry. You're a poor at heart.
I mean, I can't be like Doug. Doug's got one on with a cross.
Doug can wear jewelry with the best of them. Doug, put a camera on him. Doug has the chest for jewelry.
I have the chest hair. I have the gold chain. I have the tracksuit. And at home, on my dresser, right next to a couple pictures of the wife and kids, I do have a gold pinky ring. That's outstanding.
It's outstanding. You're a mensch. Stats of the game. Matt Stafford, 23 of 30, good for 76.7%, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no sacks, no interceptions, a 132 rating.
Almost perfect.
Josh Allen, 22 of 37, 59%, 342, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions or sacks, 117 rating, 3 rushing touchdowns and 82 yards.
He's kind of good at football.
He might be the most electrifying man in football entertainment. Wide receiver Khalil Shakir, 106 yards, 1 touchdown, 21.2 yards per touch. Time of possession, Rams plus 17 minutes to the second. That's more, Doug, if my math is correct, you as a former football coach would know, more than a full quarter that the Rams held the football than the Buffalo Bills. Bills defense, 4 of 15 on third down stops, 0 for 1 on fourth down. Linebacker Matt Milano, 50% missed tackle rate, 100% completions against for 26 yards. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, 15th in the NFL in average cushion pre-snap allowed by a defense. We're going to talk about a lot of these things, but I've got some lightning round statistics, Chris, and I'm going to go around the room. We're going to ask about him. Chris, I got some numbers to throw at you, and I want you to see if you know where they come from. Chris, the number 3. What's the number 3?
DeMar Hamlin.
It's the number of players Taylor Rapp is injured because he's reckless.
He's our wrecking ball.
The number 9, Doug. What's the number 9?
Number 9 is Rapp.
Number 9 is the number of players on the field during the Bills' final play when they tried to punt the ball. And the number 0. The number 0, Chris, what does that signify in terms of this game as a statistic?
I don't.
Sacks.
Buffalo Bills Super Bowls.
It's the number of teams who before this week had lost while having a quarterback score 6 touchdowns with no turnovers.
It's insane. It's insane that they lost a game like that. You know.
Let's talk about this. So I first Like there's a lot to unpack here. Everyone's upset. Everyone's angry. And as to the spirit of the show, I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do and flip out, man. No. I'm Jim Brewer and Half Baked. I'm here. I've got my whiskey, and we're here. We're going to talk about this. We're going to be adults for once. Mm-hmm. I want to have a conversation with you guys. Doug, let me ask you. When you think about the game of football and you say, my team was losing at one point. Like when you think about this, most of the temper tantrum, I want to address that. The temper tantrum for my fan base, myself included, came because we lost a game by 2 points where your defense grossly failed you. Like the Cooper Kupp separation statistic is important because you came to this game with a highly flawed approach. But let's put that aside for a second. At one point, you were losing 31-14. I know myself, I went out and fired up a turkey fryer and said, I'm going to make chicken wings. And then my 4-year-old comes to the door and goes, Daddy, Josh Allen scored a touchdown. And I go, all right. And then he comes back not that long later and goes, he scored another touchdown. And I had throwbacks to myself talking to my dad during the comeback. Mm-hmm. The Oilers-Bills comeback. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Fuck these chicken wings. I'm going. I'm coming to see what the hubbub is about. Josh Allen's that guy.
You had a defensive collapse. You had big special teams letdown that resulted in a touchdown. And then you have Josh Allen just going, no. Tombstone. The scene in Tombstone in the river. No.
Well, we're going to talk about.
That's what he did.
We're going to talk about that in a second. What I love is Sophie in the comments. She goes, it's funny that Mac Hollins carefully tucked his hair into his jersey this week. After last week when he grabbed that dude by the hair and pulled it, he's like, well, I did it. Mac Hollins, let me tell you about this. Mac Hollins, professional dirtbag, and I love every second of it. I love every second of what he brings to the Buffalo Bills offense.
I can't believe how he's producing.
Here is one thing that I love about the way that this game went. When you look at what it was on its face, yes, we got beat. And we can all scream into the ether if we want to. I know I had a tweet that got over 100 likes, which is rare because most of you assholes have me blocked because you don't like my negativity on game days, which is fine. I deserve that. I've earned it. What I love is that I tweeted out there's no coach in the NFL that could pull off what McDermott did this week, where you lose when you get that quarterback performance. But let's talk about the quarterback for a minute. Josh Allen. Chris, if you want to go ahead and put on the screen the graphic from Ben Baldwin, and I'm going to show it to Doug here so he knows what I'm talking about. Here we go. On your X and Y axis, here's the Buffalo Bills defensive EPA, and here's your offensive EPA. It turns out the Buffalo Bills offense is just so fucking good. I don't care what you have to say about it. They are so good that even with bit pieces and no star receiver, they can roll out there into a game like we had this week and just take it over once they start to click. It's terrifying once it starts to connect. The beginning of the game, when Josh Allen goes to the podium after the game and says his whole, and this is the thing that haunts me, is when you see offensive performances like this, and then Josh Allen comes up there with dead eyes and goes, I guess I got to be better. But he's not wrong, because the first half they were dogging it.
They were.
Let's not let the final score let everyone forget how this game went. At one point, we were losing 31-14. Mm-hmm. And then Josh Allen found a switch and became MVP Josh Allen. And I likened it, as you and I were talking about, to the scene in the movie Tombstone when Wyatt Earp just gets off the ground and walks across the river. And he's just like, I'm not taking this anymore. We're not going to get pinned down here and we're not going to die here. I'm going to go out on my feet, and just starts gunning people down. And then everyone's like, oh shit, he can do this. Rally behind it. And all of a sudden there's a comeback. Josh Allen was Wyatt Earp crossing the river. They go, my wife goes, and then later in the night, my wife goes, Did you see any of the game in the second half? I go, no, I was outside cooking chicken wings, but I did the rewatch. And she goes, what'd you think? I go, what I think? I go, I think Josh Allen's down there by the river walking on water.
And well, it's crazy too, because like you said, with the time of possession that the Rams had, and if you look at it, how they scored their 44 points, the majority with the exception of the block punt, they just kept crushing it with efficiency. They kept going down on the third downs and just making it work. Josh Allen, that second half, look at all the chunk plays that he did. He's like, nah, we're not going methodical. We're not taking what the defense is giving me.
Nope.
I'm not throwing it underneath. I'm not playing safe. No, I got it. And he's not scrambling for 9 yards. He's scrambling for 40 yards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's like, oh, if you're going to let me run, I'll run it down your throat.
Right.
You better stop me, because if you don't, guess what? I'm just going to find somebody open.
He's grabbing Shakir, who's been outstanding all year. He's grabbing him in the huddle, grabbing him by the chest. I'm going to throw you the ball 20 yards down the field, turn around and run straight. And he does. And it was so impressive to watch and so much fun to watch.
He's the Terminator. And so now, here's what I love. We are the only offense in the NFL to score 30 or more points in 7 straight fucking games. And I'll tell you what, if you look at the wide receivers he has at his disposal to do it, and you look at like what he's working with, even from an offensive coordinating standpoint, I don't want to take anything away from our coordinator, but Chris, how much of the success has to do with our coordinator and how much is just Josh being the man?
I'm curious to know what happens on the sideline when we're down. We were down 17 twice. Like when he's talking to Brady on the phone upstairs. I think it turns out to like Joe Brady's like, why don't we do this? I got my gold chain out. I'm a little confident. And then Josh Allen probably goes, no, fuck that.
Josh Allen goes, hey,
I'm going to do it myself.
I'm going
to change some of these calls. I'm doing it myself.
That's exactly what he did. He was like this. He goes, I don't care what you're calling. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go down. And how scary is that? That dude is probably making other people think the difference of how you build your team. We've talked a lot about stuff and how they build teams and how we think that high-end assets, you throw them into your offense. That's the way to go. It is switched in our lifetime. Offense usually wins the championships now. You got that guy playing, you might as well throw all your high-end assets into defense and get the best defense you can, because it does not matter who he has out there. He has put up all these points without Kincaid and without Coleman for 3-4 weeks now. And he's over 30 each week. It's insane what he's doing, and it's him doing it. And it's so much fun to watch, you know. But like you said, you're not going to freak out. You're not going to break down. You're not going to flip a table like you did when Alabama lost to Clemson in your basement, and then I quietly left. You're not going to do any of that. You know why? Because Buffalo Bills defense, you're allowed to have a letdown once every 6 years.
Here's what I love.
Like that.
Steve Noble in the comments hits on this. He goes, well, the defense has been torched by every good offense we faced. The Ravens, the Rams, the Dolphins, Houston. It's like, all right, those are all fair points. You're right. Our defense did hemorrhage yards.
Stop about. I don't care about yards. Stop about the Dolphins. Just
you know what I like? Did we win? What, we split those games? Like, you're pointing out games. You're like Houston, the Ravens, the Dolphins. It's like, all right, well, we won one of them at the gun, but we won it. Mm-hmm. And also the other two, we were in a position to win both of them. Like the Ravens game, if it wasn't for that botched special play, like, hey, let's do a flea flicker. This is cool. No, don't call that then.
But hold on, and it matters.
But
the injuries too from all those games.
The Houston game, our quarterback completed 9 out of 30 passes. If you look at Josh right now in December mode, there's none of that.
No.
There's no 9 completions.
That dude is so locked in.
And now, Steve, the problem is they have to deal with us. Everyone has to deal with us. And so this is why I look at this and I'm dumbfounded how anyone could watch what we just saw. A leader among men, a god among men on a football field. Yes, you can be angry that Sean McDermott lost the game, but I'm more frustrated by the people who have chosen to take the discourse and make it about how Josh Allen doesn't deserve the MVP. Chris, if you want to hit me with that sample.
What does it mean to be MVP? Most valuable player in the National Football League. Just like last year, everybody was killing me because I was like, Josh Allen has 44 touchdowns. That's a great season. That's a season worthy of MVP consideration. This season, it has 20 passing touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. I just don't understand it when the numbers, I'm not talking about anything but the numbers, guys. Just like I was last year when I said Lamar with 24 passing touchdowns is going to be the MVP. And they told me, yes, I'm sound crazy. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. Like if you look at it and you say, hey, completion percentage, does he lead the league? Is he top 5? No. Passing yards, same, no. Passing touchdown, no. Then you look at Saquon Barkley. Over 12 games, he has pretty much 1,500 rushing yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, which should be 15 if it wasn't for the tush push. That's starting to sound like an MVP numbers with 5 games to go. Over 2,000 yards for a running back. That would sound like an MVP season. Don't call me crazy. These are the numbers.
It's Richard Sherman from his podcast on, I believe it's The Volume.
Now, you want to talk numbers, asshole? Woo! Let's talk numbers. Here's what I love. Do you know how many rushing touchdowns do you think that Josh Allen has in his last 4 games, Chris?
Would you say rushing touchdowns?
Rushing touchdowns.
I don't know, 5?
Okay, so 2. How many rushing touchdowns do you think he has in the season?
A lot. I mean, he had 3 on Sunday. He's got to lead quarterbacks at least.
Yeah.
So Josh has he's double-digit touchdowns. He has more rushing touchdowns now than Saquon Barkley. All of that conjecture about, well, Josh hasn't done as impressive of a job as this running back. He has done it, and he's done it as a fucking quarterback. As I said earlier, he is Wyatt Earp who just walks down to the river. When things get close, it's Tombstone, and you're pinned down in crossfire, and then you have Josh Allen who stands up straight and goes, no.
It's called MVP.
And he goes, no, and he just walks in touchdown after touchdown as he's walking. And then if you ask afterwards, you ask any analyst, where's Josh Allen? I didn't get my quote. And they go, oh, Josh, he's down there by the river walking on water.
But you need to think of it. It's MVP. If you take Saquon off of the Eagles, they still have Hurts. They still have Brown. They still have Smith. They still have Goddard. They still have a good defense. If you take Josh Allen away from us.
Oh, my God.
Well, come on.
This is drought era. Like, if you put Chris, what if our quarterback, just for conjecture's sake, what if our quarterback is Aaron Rodgers? He's wildly inefficient.
It's AA run.
You look at his numbers, he doesn't matter to their outcomes. He doesn't change their outcomes. I'm looking at some of the look at these refs made a lot of bad calls for the team and missed calls on both. Listen, we knew the bad calls were coming. Craig Rolstad should be shot in public.
But hold on,
allegedly
the 2 calls that come to mind, and it goes both ways. One, it was the call where Kupp just smoked our guy and he caught the ball, and then they called it both ways. They called it offensive pass interference and defensive pass interference.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was on us, but whatever. He got beat, and we'll take it, and we caught a break. But then on that 4th down, when it was, I believe, 4th and 5, and the offensive tackle did the Kansas City false start.
The false start. I saw it. I called it out to my wife, and when they didn't call it, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is the game. I'll be back out checking the chicken wings."
But
I don't
again,
need to see how this is
I don't want makeup calls. I want it done the best way possible, and it's just frustrating when you see the crews who do it.
Like Jonathan in the
done.
chat, maybe a 500 record without Josh Allen.
That's
maybe.
being very,
That's
very
being
generous.
So when you talk about the spirit of the MVP, right now the Buffalo Bills have a 5-game lead over who they would be without him. Minimum 5-game lead. We've won most of these games because he's an animal.
The dude's gross.
And yet you want to
It's so
sit
much
here
fun
and
to
make
watch.
this a topic of conjecture. So many people want to make it a debate topic. Some of them want to make it a racial topic, and it bothers me. Where they're like, "Oh, well, he's but Saquon Barkley," and I go, "Saquon Barkley's a running back. Do you know how replaceable those are? Do you know how every year there's a new 1,000-yard rusher? No one gives a shit.
Right.
Hey, how about this? Jameer Gibbs has 1,000 yards. You're a Lions fan. Jameer Gibbs has 1,000 yards, and no one gives a damn. It's because he doesn't play a position that draws the eyes."
That dude, if you could hate the Bills, okay? You could hate them. If you're just a football fan and you watch that game, specifically the second half, and you just watch him take over, how can you think that dude isn't the best player in the league? And I'm sorry, it's not close. He's the best quarterback this year by far. It's so impressive what Saquon's doing. But he's a running back. You don't pay those guys. He was the one running back to get paid. You think the Bills are paying Cook $50 million after
Absolutely
next
not.
year? They're not doing it. They're going to roll with Ray Davis, and then they'll draft another guy in the second or third round. You got Ty Johnson for free. Did you see the screen pass that he broke off? That dude has been outstanding for us on third downs.
Josh
that guy's
has
been awesome, and we got him for free.
So Josh has 6 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. Saquon Barkley, how many touchdowns does he have in the last 4 weeks? Chris, if you want to go give that a goog.
What do you want me to Google?
How many touchdowns does Saquon Barkley have in the last 4 weeks? It's probably not close. And so this is my point. You want to talk about what an MVP is? It's the guy who matters most. And on Sunday, there's no one who cares about football, who has a pulse, who could have watched that game and said, "Nah, Saquon Barkley's better." What?
He's just
You're dropping dimes.
he has
Here we
5
go.
touchdowns. He has 5 touchdowns in the 5.
A season?
2 no. In the last 4. In the last 4 he's
Okay.
5
So,
2 2 1 and 0.
so Josh Allen outscored you as a fucking quarterback. Now throw the ball. Now throw the ball, asshole.
And think about that. He's putting up he's putting up those numbers, and think about those during the streak we were just on.
Yes.
Cook put up good numbers.
That's
okay. Shakir was putting up good numbers. The defense was putting up good numbers. They're getting turnovers. They're getting the sacks. But Josh Allen is the one. You go to the 4th and 2 versus Kansas City. Hold my beer. You go to in the snow. You know what? Gets a pitch back. Score a touchdown. Goes through Fred Warner. Get off me. Get off me. Scores to just put it way out of the way in the 4th quarter.
So
That dude deserves to be MVP, and it should not be even close.
100%. Now I'm looking at some of the comments. Griffin, as bad as the refs are, why do we have a defensive head coach who gets outcoached by every offensive head coach? You're not wrong. I want to pivot to talk about the defensive letdown. Now, it's real. Steve Noble talked about it earlier. You're commenting on it now. I'm just going through here. What I will say is this. The Bills allegedly have a defense. They allegedly have a defense. A bunch of guys they pay each week to cover and tackle and pressure quarterbacks. I'm legitimately concerned that some of them didn't make the play-in, like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. Like the whole Home Alone bit where they just everyone ran through the airport and somehow the defensive line got left behind.
We have to be realistic here, and we have to look at the big picture. Big picture.
Well, but before we get to that though, you gotta meet with me here. Can we talk about the defensive line? Because these motherfuckers are killing me.
The defensive line specifically last week was atrocious.
So
they didn't have any sacks. They had 0 sacks.
Well,
they had, even with all the blitzes that they did, 0.
Here's what I like.
Staff.
And for people who wonder why things went so poorly, so quickly on defense. Let me break it down for you as someone who watched the All-22. What happened was early on in the game, they decided to go man cover and they tried to blitz early. It didn't work. And so then later in the game, they went to a zone thing and it slowed the Rams down, but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It still didn't work, but it wasn't as bad as what they did in the first half.
No, it wasn't.
And the problem was the damage was already done. When you're in that big of a hole, it's hard to fight your way out of. And so when you watch them do that early, I legitimately believe that they thought, our Christian Benford's having a great season. Our Rasul Douglas is having a great year. They can go up against Puka Nacua and Taron Johnson. He's having a great year. Why can't they go up against Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp? And those two guys literally did the Michigan planting their flag in the middle of Ohio State's field and was like, oh, you assholes think you can cover us with cornerbacks?
They got torched for 60 minutes on the back end.
Rocked us.
They got torched, but look at a couple of those plays too.
And they were close. They were all close. Every Buffalo defender was that close to making a play.
It was
Taron
right there.
Johnson on Puka. I'll never forget. The play I remember the most, it wasn't even one of the most damning plays, but it was an innocuous first down conversion where it was 3rd and 5. And I go, okay, that's distance. And you watch them drop back, and Taron Johnson rides Nacua right to the sideline, but about 4 yards shy of the sideline, Stafford puts the ball out there, and Nacua comes down with it, and there's nothing Taron Johnson can do about that.
Yeah.
That was his man. He covered him as well as he could. It's a loss. Our DBs lost every single battle with the opposing cornerbacks that they could have.
And they have not done that.
And that's not a staple of what this team is.
No, they have not done that. And look, again, it's important saying who they did it versus. They didn't have Daniel Jones tear them up.
No, they had Matt Stafford.
They had Stafford.
With Puka Nacua and
who was
Sean
just
McVay.
coming off a rookie season where he smoked
Kupp.
every record. And then Kupp saying, you know what? You think I'm not a good slot receiver still? Watch this.
They kept
They were
rotating guys into the middle of our defense and then torching them.
They did fantastic, and how good of a job, and ours did as well, but how good of a job did the Rams offensive line do?
No, they did a great job.
A+.
When you look at our defensive line, some of us are wondering what the hell these guys have been doing. Now, we know that Greg Rousseau is good. Greg Rousseau has already planted his flag as well, wait, I better not say that, otherwise some Ohio senator will have him arrested for a felony.
I saw they wanted to make it a felony. Look,
Guys, they want to make a felony charge on
blue.
On planting a flag in the middle of another college team's stadium.
Did you see they pepper sprayed my boys? Did you see that?
Greg Rousseau had a good game. Nobody else did. The rest of the defensive line was a clown show, and it's painful to watch. And so now you look at that D line and you go, you guys are all getting paid real American dollars. I need to know what you're giving me for that money. Now, I assume you will do better in the future, but I will say there are some performances. Like I saw a tweet. It was one of my favorites of the week where someone said that Ed Oliver's just out here doing cardio at this point. And he's not wrong. Chris, if you want to give it a Goog, what is Ed Oliver's, what's his stat line?
Oh, there, E. Griffin, the comment, Ed Oliver pulling a Marcel Darius on us, question mark.
And then someone just
doesn't
wrote
have
Ed Oliver doing the cardio.
Yeah, he doesn't have a captain's hat,
He doesn't have a boat hat on yet.
You know, this has been his worst year as a Buffalo Bill. It has been. It's not a secret. You have to be honest. And he just has had his down year where, on the other hand, Rousseau and even Epinenza, he's having a career year with sack totals. He is. He's playing good. And it just stinks that
Epinesa had a bad day.
he had a terrible day. Listen,
And whoa.
the whole defense
And
had a bad
DaQuan
day.
Jones has been down lately. And look at this. 1 sack, 8 solo tackles, and 1 forced fumble for Ed Oliver. 1 sack? 1? It's my 3 tech.
Atrocious.
I can't have you.
No.
I almost feel like if this was a hockey team and we had 82 games, I would bench that guy And I'd be like, go sit in the press box and go figure out what it is that you need to do in order to be impactful on this team.
He's like Jack Quinn.
Unfortunately, you only have a couple. So you can't bench Oliver. You just have to keep rolling him out there and hoping that he understands, hey, like, Doug, you and I used to laugh about this. People used to joke about you being big for no reason. Doug, you and I fought in our front yard one time, and it wasn't a fight. It was me coming at you and you laughing and just manhandling me.
It was fun. I believe I lifted you up and just threw you on the ground and looked at you and go, are you okay? You feel good? You okay?
You rubbed my sternum. You were like, are you going to be okay?
Yeah, just like when we were on the ice.
Yes.
We were on the ice and you're like, I'm going to hit you. I'm like, okay.
You're like, all right, don't do that, but fine.
And then you just see a big black jersey come at you.
I'm in the corner. I'm going for the puck, and I look, and I'm just a wall of black, and I'm just in the wall. And yet you stopped, and you were like, are you fine? Are you good? No, you're clearly punching above your weight class. I feel like that's Ed Oliver every week, but you're getting paid an NFL paycheck.
You know what Ed Oliver we need? And again, I am the keeper of Drew's secrets. I just want people to know the Ed Oliver that we need is
Strip Club Drew.
We need
that
we
tenacity.
Need Strip Club Drew. We also need, hey, I'm trying to sleep. What is all the yelling?
Yes.
Drew, that guy has a knife. Well, I'm going to go take care of him. Okay. So I got to sit on a front porch and smoke a cigarette and watch Drew go up to a guy who was wielding a knife. And Drew's like, you want to stab someone? Stab me. And he's shaking and he's got the big eyes going. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, man, Drew's going to get stabbed. And guess what happened? The guy with the knife retreated.
He went back inside his house. Why? Because if you slap a guy enough times in the face, they just leave. It's Tombstone, where it's just like, are you going to skin that thing or what?
No.
Are you going to skin that smoke wagon or what are we doing there?
That's what they need. Ed Oliver needs strip club Drew gear, knife wielding, I'm going to fight you, Drew gear, and I'm going to fight a homeless person in Washington, D.C. because I'm stuck on a subway. That's what we need. That's what they need out of him. They're paying him for it. One sack is unacceptable.
Guys, I'm finding out that I've had a lot of instances that Doug's been party to where I've been a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
It turns out I might be able to coach somebody like Ed Oliver into how to have the discipline it takes to play defensive line because you have to be out of control. He's lackadaisical. And I can't have a guy like John Fina, former Buffalo Bills left tackle, used to call it being on the breadline. It's where you're making your money, but you're not really contributing. And there's a part of me that fears that Oliver might be nearing this, where he's on the breadline. Ed, we need you. We need you to show up in a game here. Hopefully against the Lions. And guess what? You have some of the NFL's best to go against. So good luck. I'm sure you will again.
Their offensive line has been as dominant as our offensive line this year, probably even more so.
But as we go down the chain, Matt Milano, let's have a conversation about this. Matt Milano.
Which chain would you like to go down? I got plenty of them.
Well, not the money for him. I want to hear Drew's thoughts, but we got to cut this man some slack.
I want to talk about Matt Milano. Here's the problem. He's a Pro Bowler. At worst, he's apparently really average. We know him to be special. What we saw on Sunday was really average, Matt Milano. 50% tackle miss rate. Like he was a little sloppy and he looked a little shaky on tackle attempts. And when he dropped into coverage, his drops didn't look good. But here's the thing. This is a guy who hasn't played football since week 5 of last year. Of course he doesn't look good. So for as much as I want to get mad about all the plays that old school Matt Milano might have made, this version of Matt Milano needs a little more runway to get there. And anybody who disagrees with that, you're arguing with the wind. Like, man, this is reality. This is a human being's body acclimating to the game of football. You're lucky he's able to get out there at all. Broken legs, broken elbows. This man is suffering and he's out there.
Could we call it what it is?
Yeah.
Let's just call it
Age.
Let's just call
Age, attrition.
Injury.
We'll just say everything what it is.
Serious injuries.
With the two big injuries, okay? He missed 15 games last year, not including the playoffs.
Vita Vega.
All
Frank Ragnow's putting that Oliver underneath the Detroiter.
Frank Ragnow is a beast at center, man. That dude is a beast. But for Matt Milano, coming off those two injuries, he missed 15 games last year, not including playoffs. He missed 12 this year. And we need to realize something, that this dude, we have a luxury right now.
Yeah.
We have the division wrapped up. Unless we get extremely lucky with Kansas City losing, the 1 seed is bye-bye, okay? So they have the next 4 weeks where they can treat Matt Milano like the preseason.
Yes.
Let him play. Let him make his mistakes. Let him do his thing. Let him get everything back underneath him.
For everyone who's going, oh, Dorian Williams should be in there. It's like, no, you need this.
You know when, for those people who say Dorian Williams should be in there, here's when I would agree with you. If we were in a dogfight for the division, I would agree with you. I would say, sorry, man, Milano, you've missed too much time. Dorian Williams has been more than capable. He's had an excellent year filling in for him. He has. He's had a great year. But now we have a little leeway here. We have the luxury of letting Milano take a couple falls and letting him get his feet back under him. And he needs that time. The dude's been out a lot. And it's not little injuries. They're two big injuries. So let him go through his growing pains. And again, it's not like the game he had versus the Niners. The Niners, he's going to have a little more leeway in a snowstorm. The footing's going to be off for the offense too, as well as him. But in perfect conditions, you saw, he's just out of the football sense. He'll get back to it. Just let him take this next month and get back to it.
Now, this is coming from a guy who coaches people in football. Now, I have a million snarky notes here that I'm not going to get into. Like, I was like, oh, good. Taylor Rapp's injuring his teammates again. That's a thing.
He's had a good year. Leave him alone. He's a wrecking ball.
Oh, good. Taylor Rapp is hurting people again. That's a good thing.
What do you think Rasul Douglas said to him on the plane?
I'm not going to lie. I'd motherfuck him. Like, what would you do? Guys, you guys in the chat, you people who are here watching live, what would you do if somebody you work with hurt you at work? What would you say to him?
I just want to throw it out there. In my mind, this is just the way I think. It is the Dave Chappelle skit where Rick James is on Eddie Murphy's couch, and he keeps saying, "Fuck your couch." That's what I picture him doing at Taylor Rapp's house.
I got a perfect story for this.
Tanner Henderson, my Guardian Camp hero.
So my mom and dad used to have a bocce ball court in the backyard. But
because you're rich.
Yes.
Look at his chain.
Affluent white people.
White cake.
They live on like a dam. So my brother they live on a dam on a pond. So my brother, who's an engineer, went through AutoCAD, built out in AutoCAD the bocce ball court, and then my brother built it with his bare hands. My mom just checkbook. You need more lumber. You need all this stuff. So my brother, and I'm helping my brother on one of the days, and he's in a Bobcat, and he's pulling, I think, rebar to center something with some of the boards, because all those boards that were exposed needed to have rebar in it so they didn't bow out, which they eventually did. And I couldn't get my brother's attention because he was up on the dam in a Bobcat, and for whatever reason, I'm trying to get his attention, and I just threw a bunch of like dirt his way while he's in the Bobcat, and then he got out of the Bobcat, and because of how the bocce ball court was, where you needed a stack of boards, he like put me in a chokehold up against the boards to yell at me because we're playing with heavy machinery and I could have injured somebody.
Absolutely.
That could have been Rasul Douglas.
I could see it. He definitely had to have been mad, especially now. He's got to be pissed now that he's not practicing. I hope it's not serious because, again, we have the luxury of a cushion here for the next month. But, dude,
we also have a Kyrie Elam.
Yeah, first-round pick.
Listen, hold on. Wait a minute. All right, you brought him up. This dude, I don't care about first-round pick status. I don't care. I know he's part of the 53. Again, they have the luxury of not worrying about it. They hit on Beneford in the same draft. But you cannot tell me They don't trust the dude.
No.
They trust Ingram over him more, and Ingram is an undrafted free agent.
And they see practice. They see things that we don't see as fans. So you're right. That is one of those things where when you see Kyrie Elam inactive for this game and then Benford goes out and Jamarcus Ingram has to step in. You're right. It is troubling, especially when the defense is struggling. You go, oh, they're not that smart. And then you go, well, they do see that guy every day. If the coach says, hey, I don't believe in that guy.
And it's frustrating, too, because we were talking about it earlier on the previous show. Like, you watch him fill in last year in the playoffs versus Pittsburgh, and you watch him give up third down after third down after third down, and then what does he do on a touchdown throw? He picks it off. And then what does he do the next drive? He creates a fumble. Like, it's like, who are you? Like, why are you doing this to me? You know, it's a chick from high school who you always wanted to have sex with, who texts you, and then doesn't text you for like 3 months, and then out of the blue texts you, how you doing? That's what Elam is. You know how frustrating that is, man? Like, you watch him just give up stupid plays and take stupid penalties.
That's the most hilarious analogy I've ever heard on this podcast.
I'm not wrong. That's exactly what
not
he
wrong.
is. You know, and
He's a tease.
he is a tease.
Now, I had a whole diatribe ready for everybody here who's watching this about Sean McDermott, right? Like I said, I led into this with the whole I'm not going to freak out. What I will say, right, like in a game of inches where you lost by less than a field goal, you left a lot of unnecessary inches out there. But we could sit here all night and argue about Sean McDermott. I don't want to fucking do it. What I want to do, we've had a good conversation so far. I want to bypass this other than saying thank you to Buffalo Bills Helmet Bar to curating a list for me. I want to run this through. 2020, the Hail Mary.
Hail Murray.
Then 2021, the 13 seconds.
What was that?
2022, the Vikings overtime loss.
Forgot about that. They didn't have triple coverage on Jefferson. Triple coverage. Knock it down, Cam Lewis.
2023, the Eagles overtime loss.
In the rainstorm.
2024 Rams loss. At a certain point, when you get called the game of the year, you gotta fucking win one. You have to, Sean.
What about the Tampa Bay overtime loss?
Oh my God,
Brady.
that's
Versus
right
Brady.
there.
Versus Brady.
It's all in there, and you gotta fucking win one, man.
I just don't understand it. Like, you take a step forward and you take 2 steps back. You play Kansas City. You have a 4th and 2 at home in field goal.
Jimmy
range.
Key, 9-man punt return.
Look,
That's
there
it.
you
That's all
go.
I'm saying.
Perfect 9-man. You spot on, man.
All Sean McDermott.
It's just unbelievable what he can do.
And this is where I've landed.
It's infuriating.
Hang on. Before I land, I want to do this hero and zero real quick. But my producer left. He left the studio. Here's what I'll say. Sean McDermott, I don't expect anything new from him. Oh, hell yeah. I don't expect anything new from him. Here's what I expect. I expect you to go out there. I expect Josh Allen to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I expect you as a defensive coach to keep us in the game enough that we can win it. This week it didn't land. And everyone's upset about this dynamic, but it's been there in front of us for years. Like it's not new. This didn't just fall out of the sky. Yeah. Yes.
You're drinking Old Soul?
So, Chris, if you can hit me with this week's hero and zero, I want to start with the zero of the week, and that's Ed Oliver.
Wait for it. I was on the Ghostbusters page.
Who's on the Ghostbusters page?
Your mother.
You look like death warmed over. Every time I look at you, I lose my fucking appetite.
Ed Oliver epitomizes everything that's wrong with our defensive line. This is a dude who's fat. He's overpaid. He rides horses around. He's shooting TikToks. Where are you on the football field? I'm sorry if this seems like Gen X rage or whatever it is. Like, we don't understand that generation. Here's what I understand. Show up and earn your fucking paycheck. Can you argue with me that he has?
No, can you get to one of them last week on one of those third downs instead of letting him go 15 of 17? Can you shake Avila from friggin' TCU one time as the guard?
Never.
And make a play up the middle? You have the clearest path to the quarterback. You're making a buttload of money. Can you please do what you have done for us the majority of your time here? And when we need you, make a play. Dude, you just needed one sack would have changed the outcome of that game.
Yep.
One sack. I don't care about a block
In a
punt.
tight game.
I don't care about nothing.
And that's my point. Everyone
One
wants
play.
to talk about how, the blocked punt, and everyone wants to get on Reed. Hey, guess what? My friend Reed Ferguson missed a block and allowed a blocked punt for a touchdown in a game that was decided by 2 points.
Rare. And he's
Do
rare.
you not think that hasn't escaped my consciousness? I was livid that day. But do you think I text Reed and go, "Hey, fuck you, you fucking scumbag, you didn't make this thing"? Absolutely not. He's my friend. Also, I know he does a better job than most guys most of the time. It's why our kicking game has improved. Mm-hmm. He talked about he's talked to me privately about the things that he's done differently, and now all of a sudden their game's improved. Mm-hmm. And the things that they've talked about privately, like there's things that go on beyond the game of football that we don't understand because they're players. But when I look at Ed Oliver and I go, you're just out here smashing your fat body into the offensive line for no cause. I watched the film, and everyone goes, "Oh, watch the tape." I do watch the tape, what I see is a fat body flopping around.
I watch the All-22 every week.
Doug, he looks like me trying to block you.
And this is what he's turned into, and this is what you don't want since you've paid him. This is what you don't want. He has turned into, at least this year, and you have to go off of what have you done for me lately. He has turned into, he needs another dominant D tackle next to him to matter. And
Daquan
that's not
Jones.
what we paid him for.
Daquan
we paid
Jones.
him to be the dominant force so you can sign a Daquan Jones, so you could bring in a Carter as a rookie, so you could bring in a Quentin Jefferson, so you could bring in a Johnston, so you can bring in, player X. And now it's turning out to where we're going to have to spend a high-end draft asset on an interior defensive lineman to pair next to him. So maybe that an offensive team's going to have to go, well, we can't double Ed Oliver. We're going to have to double this X guy, or we're going to have to double Rousseau because he's a beast.
Yep.
Because if Ed Oliver, when he went away, it's because he got double teamed and they had to double team him. And that's when Epinenza shined. That's when Daquan Jones shined. That's when Jordan Phillips shined.
But in this game, no one shined.
No one shined.
No one shined.
Which again, that's why we can't freak out. It's because you have to look at the big body. You have to look at they just came off a 7-game winning streak and they beat some impressive teams. I know they lost to Houston. I know they gave up some points to Miami.
I Joe
understand
Miller.
all of that, but
Joe
so
Miller
what?
in the chat, he goes, "I'm friends with him. Stop name dropping." No. I'm talking about the conversation because I'll tell you what, Joe, you want to have a conversation? I was going to make him tonight's zero of the week. And then I sobered up.
Hey,
watch the game.
Look what Tanner Helsden just said.
Yeah.
Give him red contacts.
So,
it's too funny.
So what I know is that at this point, Ed Oliver was the kind of albatross in my mind, because here's a guy who's getting paid to be a 3-tech, and you got no penetration, you got no pass rush, you got no nothing, and you've been doing nothing. Hero of the week, Chris, wide receiver Khalil Shakir.
Can we clap it
Don't
up?
take it personally, all right? Franchise star players are a lot like Highlanders. There can only be one.
There is only one Khalil Shakir, and our friend Brett Coleman hit on it. He was early.
3 years ago?
3 years ago, he was early on Khalil Shakir being a weapon in the NFL. Look at Khalil Shakir averaging 21 yards a touch.
Dude's a beast.
A touch!
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
And then exactly. Pay that guy. And then you watch him on that touchdown catch, Chris. He catches that ball. We've talked about this on this show incessantly. There is no one who brings Khalil Shakir down at first brush. You can't.
He is Doug Comp, plays like Heinz Ward.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're not going to get him down on first hit.
No, you're not. He is fast. He has amazing hands, and has that low. What is he? 5'10", 5'11"?
Something like that.
He has that low body, the low center of gravity. Where you're right, you're not taking him down. His legs are moving a mile a minute. He's going forward, and that's the thing that I love about him. Once he'll do the stop real quick to try and juke the guy, but then he is north-south. He goes forward. He doesn't try to cross.
No,
he jukes and then he goes forward.
Here's the thing that makes Khalil Shakir special. His center of gravity is so low, but his contact balance is so good that when you make contact with him as a defender, you've got an arm out. You're like, oh shit, you're in the secondary. Let me drag tackle you. There is no drag tackle that will ever bring that guy down. If you don't meet him in the body, he's gone.
Oh, 1,000%.
And the Rams secondary just found that out.
You watch that play. What did we talked about it earlier? Josh hit him. I think it was like a 15-yard pass down the field or a 20-yard pass down the field. Josh hit him, and what did he do? He turned around and went straight. That's what he did, and that dude's a beast, and that's what he does.
Chris, you poured me
Hold that bottle up there, dude.
a snifter of Old Soul.
Hold that bottle up there. That is, so let me tell you that bottle, the first bottle, it's a cask strength store pick. I drove to Fredonia.
Oh, so we're all going to hell tonight. That's why you called this show Heaven and Hell.
I drove to Fredonia to get it because it is the first bottle of Old Soul sold in New York State.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
I can't believe he has this. This is old 5th generation plantation money.
Yeah.
That's what this is. That's what this is. I just want for the people who can't see in the back of this because it's so small. This was made at 422 South Farish Street in Jackson, Mississippi.
Jeremy Rogers, if Drew's sober, then Oliver is an amazing defensive tackle.
For everyone who does not know, Drew had a work party before we started the show, and
I've been at it since noon.
He had a couple doubles. He had a couple doubles. He's feeling really good. He's feeling good.
We're all having fun here.
There's a snowstorm here in Buffalo. We're having a great time. All of our kids are home from school, and we're talking about this stuff, and we're watching Drew do some things. Will you take a sip of this, please?
Closing thoughts. Hey, guys, can you all say it with me? Everyone here watching, you especially, Joe Miller, give me those goose fraba. Let's all just fucking relax.
And then Jack Nicholson looks at us and goes, how do you feel? Better. That's what we got to do. Listen, I am a main. We have done such a good job at building a roster. They hit on Josh, and it is just so much fun to watch him play. And it is infuriating when McDermott goes up against another excellent head coach in the NFL, and it's a close game and he loses. It's frustrating. But you know what? I watched the dude do a 4th and 2 versus Kansas City instead of kicking a field goal, and it worked out, and he understands it.
You're a Lions fan, and this is where this comes from.
And, well, listen, all right, you just said it. Look at Dan Campbell. The dude goes for it on 4th down no matter what. He's in field goal range to go up by 3 and have a defense, and you're going to get the ball left with, 48 seconds left, and he's like, it's 4th and 3, I'm better. As he's eating his smoked turkey leg on the sideline. All I can picture Dan Campbell doing after that game is going home in his sauna and his wife dumping water on his back as he's smoking a cigar in his sauna and just going, I want steak for dinner.
And she's like, honey, are you coming to bed? He goes, nah.
I'm
fired up.
I'm
fired up.
I'm up. You know what I'm going to do? I might watch the whole Sopranos tonight. I'm up. That's what he does. And, it's just, I love McDermott. I will love him for turning us around and bringing the culture in here, just like Campbell in Detroit. This game that's coming up are these two coaches, and the teams have taken over the personas. And Chris hit it on the other show. These coaches are perfect for blue collar cities. They're perfect for him. McDermott wouldn't work in LA. Campbell wouldn't work in LA or Miami. I know he played there, but it's just it's frustrating as a fan. And you can be honest. Everyone can be honest. We can be happy with him, but it's frustrating that he keeps. You brought up the statistics a little bit ago. Those 5-6 games.
Yeah.
You need to learn. I'm not saying you can't make a mistake. Everyone can make a mistake, and that's why I'm not mad at the Bills' defense. But you need to learn from it. And the dude just doesn't seem to get it.
I get it. And I understand why everyone's mad at Sean McDermott. Now, here's what I'll say. Even without him, they have the best quarterback in the NFL.
Best.
That's not debatable. They've already clinched the playoffs. They're one of 4 teams to do so as of today. And there's one game coming in Orchard Park after Week 18. We already know that. The Bills have the second best record in the AFC. Harbaugh, all these other smart people. Yep. It's like, oh, hey, smart people, smart people. I feel like the Buffalo Bills are the equivalent of, with Josh Allen and Sean McDermott, they are the equivalent of the old guy in the movie Grumpy Old Men.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, wow.
When he's living out on the lake and he goes, they keep telling me to get healthy and I keep eating bacon and beans. He goes, you know what the difference is?
They keep dying and I keep living.
They keep dying and I keep living.
Burgess Meredith. That's
Burgess
it. Burgess Meredith.
Meredith.
That's the actor's name. Burgess Meredith.
I love that you know that.
Of course I do. Come on, man. You know I'm a movie guy.
He had Alzheimer's in the filming of Grumpier Old Men. That was his last film.
I'm sure I'm sure it was.
So they just played a football game where every single fan wants to lay everything on the defense. And you go, well, they were down 31-14 at one point. Like, the offense didn't really carry play. Like, things were going poorly, and then all of a sudden Josh Allen just exploded on everyone, which is what he does. Mm-hmm. When Josh gets mad, like, you as an opposing team might do well to just lay in the grass and wait till the fourth quarter. Lull us into a false sense of security and then explode on us. Because nothing will stop a fourth quarter Josh Allen. Fourth quarter Josh Allen is one of the most dangerous football players in the entire NFL. I don't know if there's a guy who's existed like him.
It's fun. It's very... I mean, you know how back in the day when we were watching Brady kick our butts? You know that? But and then you watched him in the playoffs when we weren't doing it, and how fired up he would get at the end of games when they would take the lead in the fourth quarter. That's what we're watching. And it's just, as a fan, after going through what we just went through for, you know, the majority of our football watching lives as fans, I don't take it for granted. I enjoy him. I watch every play. I don't get mad when he does.
Joe Miller,
things.
he was also Mickey in Rocky.
He was also Mickey in Rocky. Yes, he had the hearing aids, and then he did his story about how he was a boxer, and But I just want, before we wrap up, I do like this. And if you're watching and you're thinking that you're upset that we can't get a 1 seed or anything like that.
Hang on, we actually have a slide about that, Chris, if you want to hit everyone with it right now. So this is where I want to pivot. And I want to go, guys, we're here trying to, we're memorializing the Bills like they died. Here's the thing. When you look at where we stand right now to the rest of the AFC, we crush everybody else in terms of what could be. Now, Chris, if you can put that up there. Oh, my God. Everyone's seeing it? Now, Doug, take a look at that. Chris, if you can you pull it out for him, or can you...
Can you see that?
Oh, I can see it.
So if you look at the people who have games against remaining playoff teams, who coasts through this? Oh, it might be the Buffalo Bills.
I'm listen, after this week,
look at this chart. The Buffalo Bills played Detroit, New England, the Jets, and New England. We're the only ones in the AFC playoff field who do not have other playoff teams or teams that are nipping at our heels structurally.
In conference.
In division, nipping at our heels. This is going to be a disaster for some of these teams. Look at Pittsburgh. They play Philly, Baltimore, KC, and Cincy.
And again, take this into consideration also. They said this yesterday. Pickens has a more severe hamstring injury than they thought.
Yep.
They might actually have to put him on IR before the playoffs for 4 weeks.
Yep.
And if he's out of that lineup,
what does that team look like?
That is devastating. So, like, and again, if you're mad about, all of this and you're mad about losing those 2 points, don't be. Because if you look at things down the stretch, again, we have a favorable matchup. We are on track to be the 2 seed. And you just have to look at everything.
Right now, it's on Kansas City to hold the 1 seed. They play Cleveland, Houston, Pittsburgh, and Denver. Playoff teams. So now the thing is, if any 1 or 2 of those teams beats them.
But can they win 2 of those? Can they lose 2 of those and can we win out?
100%.
We can.
So we're still set. And now the conversation becomes, I look at Baltimore going to the Giants, Pittsburgh, Houston, Cleveland. I go, oh my God, the Ravens are scary. They're going to move up in the seeding.
Baltimore can win that division.
Houston, Miami, Kansas City, Baltimore, Tennessee, they could lose. Baltimore, Houston could lose out if they don't get their shit together.
Can you imagine if the Colts ended up winning a couple games?
This is my point.
And catching them.
It's all up in the air for everybody else except for the Buffalo Bills. When you look at what this is, everybody has questions. Everybody has strength of schedule questions. Chris, I hate that you made all the text black so the guys can't tell what the column headers are. But
that's on you, dude.
That's on me. It was white text when I sent it to you.
No.
Guys, this is producer, fucking host conversation. Break down the fourth wall. When I sent him I'm going to show
Drew's
Doug.
drinking old school straight bourbon and now he wants to hit somebody. It's typical Drew.
Dude, is that even good? Do you even like that?
It's typical Drew.
Do you even like that?
Taste that. So as we look at it, the Chargers have the Denver Raiders. The Chargers have a better road to the playoffs.
Smoky.
So I'm looking at all this and I'm saying to myself, guys, why are we upset about the outcome of this Bills game? Yes, we did lose it. And now we're a game back again in the 1 seed race. But who gives a shit? Because the seeding is going to be wild. The next 4 weeks is going to be so fluid. And by the time it's over, there might be a world, Doug, stop me if I'm wrong, where the Bills might take a look and go, we're actually kind of happy we're the 2 seed.
Can I break it down for everyone? I just want you to break if you're a little worried about and a little mad about not getting the 1 seed. Right now, if you do the NFL draft simulator or the playoff simulator, so right now we have an 80% chance this is how this plays out. Kansas City gets the 1 seed. Okay, the Buffalo Bills end up at 2, and they play either Indianapolis, Denver, or the Chargers. Can we all agree that possibly that's a win in a wild card?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Then the 3rd seed is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, when healthy, gets to play either Denver, the Chargers, or the Colts. Can we say that they would be favored?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
The 4 and 5, Houston would host Baltimore. Can we say that Baltimore should win that game? No Diggs. They have some injuries on defense. I like Baltimore there on the road. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
So, again, we're at an 80% chance right now. The divisional round sets up like this. Kansas City hosts Baltimore, which as a Buffalo Bills fan, that is our number 1 scenario in the divisional round, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then we would host Pittsburgh. And if Pittsburgh figured it out and the wheels fell off for us, we would go to Pittsburgh. Don't care where we play that. It's Josh Allen versus Russell Wilson. So we like our matchup there, correct?
Yes. And if need be, we have all the capabilities to play Renegade here.
We do have we absolutely do. So if you look at it, it's not the worst case scenario. I know we have to play another game. I know we have to win. I know that this is the NFL. And if we've learned anything this year, I watched Dallas go into Washington with Cooper Rush and beat Washington. I watched Tennessee go and beat Houston when they had no business doing it. So I understand anything can happen. But if you break it down, you wouldn't have to play Kansas City or Baltimore until the AFC Championship game. And if Baltimore beats them and you take care of business versus Pittsburgh, you're hosting an AFC Championship game. And I don't care about Derrick Henry, okay? I know he has had excellent games versus us. But if you go off of track records, Sean McDermott has had very good success against Lamar Jackson. He has. And we will take that all day. I don't need to beat Kansas City to feel good about myself. No. I don't need to. I will avoid them like the plague. Let them lose whenever they want to. I want nothing to do with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I don't need, as a fan, I don't need to be like, well, we beat them. I don't need that. Do you? If we avoided everyone and we get to avoid Burrow and Chase, who are having gross years and not even going to make the playoffs, I don't care. I don't care. I will take it any way I can. I want, for me and my family, I want the Bills versus the Lions, and I want the Bills to win, and then I want the Bills and the Lions to play again next year, and then I want the Bills to win, and I just want to enjoy this. No. So it's not the worst case scenario not getting the 1 seed.
I see people in the comments upset. They're like, oh, Josh had another historic day, and it was ruined by McDermott. All right. I feel you.
I get it.
I've been there. We've walked that.
Understandable.
What I will say is this. Do it again. Do it a second time. It usually happens in the playoffs. It's happening right now. The day that our run defense happened early. Mm-hmm. When has it happened since then?
Hasn't. They fixed it.
The Indy game had the opportunity to get away from us, and Dorian Williams ran that guy down.
This is Drew, Chris, and I just being nerds, watching all 22 films, watching stats. And again, that's an Indy game where we won 30-20 versus Joe Flacco. I just want you to know. I just want you to know this. If you don't know what Drew's talking about, Jonathan Taylor, who owned us a couple years previously here in Buffalo in a blowout in the rain.
He had two broken runs, and he still didn't score a touchdown. We mopped him up.
I just want you to know this. He had over 100 yards rushing in that game in the first half, what Drew's talking about. He had 7 yards in the second half. So, again, if you are mad and you are upset, rightfully so, I get it. But cut him some slack, because the majority of our games, they have been able to adjust and take away things. They have been.
Guys, I can't wait to see where we're going to go in this upcoming run, because we're already guaranteed a home playoff game. Now, Chris, you look incredulous. What do you want to say?
Just because told me we needed it. It hasn't happened. I mentioned it.
No, hang on. Whoa. Here's the thing here's the thing I'll say. I have every right to be vocal about this and about Sean McDermott shitting his pants and about the defense and everything else, because I'm a New Yorker. And do you want to know why, Chris?
Being miserable and treating other people like dirt is every New Yorker's God-given right.
Just about to play that. Make sure we got off the Ghostbusters page.
I just want you people to know, especially for that, audio clip that was just played. If you don't live near the area or anything like that, if you're watching from a different part of the country, if you've never taken a cab in New York City, I'm not talking an Uber or a Lyft. I'm talking a New York City yellow cab. If you've never done that, take it and watch it. And watch the verbal abuse that happens on the roadway. You got to do it.
Nope, that doesn't happen anymore, because when you kill CEOs, you take e-bikes.
You do take e-bikes. Man, they caught that guy quick. What, 4 days?
Yeah.
5. They caught that guy quick.
Are you sure it's the guy, though?
Hey,
yeah, he comes.
Oh, God. Hey, Drew. Drew, you know where?
Here, finish this.
Yeah.
Drink that.
Drew, you know where he got caught, right? Altoona, PA. And you've seen Altoona Pizza.
Can I tell you something?
I'll shoot a gun in the air if anyone brings Altoona Pizza.
I'm going to tell you this right now. When I come on this show, don't you ever mention PA again to me around Drew. Because I told Drew coming back from Maryland, hey, listen, man, I'm going to take a nap because I'm hungover in the car. Just wake me up before we get to the Pennsylvania Turnpike because we don't want to get on it. Because if we get on it, you can't get off it. And it's going to put us 2 hours outside of the line because I know a shortcut. He goes, I got you. I wake up 12 miles into the PA Turnpike. I'm like, hey, we almost there? He goes, yeah, I fucked up. We're on the PA Turnpike. I berated him with verbal abuse like I was Joe Jackson telling Tito to go get a switch. I motherfucked him for at least 48 minutes, I believe it was. And he didn't say a word. And we know how much Drew talks. He didn't say a word. He sat there and he took it because he knew he messed up.
Well, I was like, well, I'm in the wrong. This is what happened.
And I had to get it out. I wanted to get home. I just ripped a hemorrhoid out at a hotel. It was terrible. I just wanted to get home to my mom and dad. That's all I wanted to do. And nope, I have to spend an extra 2 hours in a car ride with Drew, who wasn't playing any music because he's weird. And I had to deal with it. But that's just what we do. So moving forward, please don't mention the state of Pennsylvania around Drew. I thank you very much.
I'll burn it to the ground. Guys, this has been fun. I'm happy some of you found some consolation in our de-escalation of the aggression. Listen, the game day night, I was fired up, but I found a way to back off it, and so will you.
Enjoy Josh Allen. Just enjoy.
Enjoy what Josh Allen is.
Enjoy every play, every game. Just enjoy.
Embrace it because this will never get any better than this. We watched an MVP talent go out there for our football team and fall just short. And then when he falls on the sword for his team, it's right to be angry on his behalf. But that's how much he cares about this, which is why he does it. Think about that. The reason that he goes out there and almost kills himself, I said it years ago when he tried to cartwheel out of bounds to get a first down against the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football. I said, Josh Allen just got an extension, but he cares about a win more than he cares about walking tomorrow. It hasn't changed. He wants to win more than he wants anything. And everyone else has to get in line with that. His own teammates. And it's a hard thing to... And I understand that I also have to kind of understand that Josh Allen is just a reckless individual. He's willing to die out here trying to do this thing. We should consider ourselves lucky that we have him. Embrace it for what it is. Enjoy this. Guys, because we have another crack at Game of the Week this week. For tonight, we got to get out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Doug Orlowski. This has been your Rock Ball Report. Doug, cheers.
Cheers, baby. Thanks for the White Russian.